The system here, we'll show you the brains of the system right here. And this is from the original control unit from the original Resnor system that I bought. It was a forced air unit, and this control system here, we have the thermostat comes into our system here and tells it, okay, we're looking for heat. That turns on, then it turns around and comes in through to our motor here, and then in here is all the connections, so on and so forth. This is the unit that controls the sparker. It just fired up, so I can actually show you part of the inside as far as the firebox is concerned. One thing about the firebox for the waste oil boiler is you have to have a firebox within a firebox, and I'll explain that a little bit later. Some controls that I used off the original unit are, of course, the preheater, which is down in here. That has to all go in there. As the oil comes in, I heat it in the tank, and it's at about 100 degrees in the tank. By the time it comes through here, it'll be at 160 degrees. It comes through a little screen here, goes inside the nozzle, and there's some preheaters in there also that maintain the oil to 160. One safety unit I have here, these sensors here, they are high and low limit switches, and if my firebox gets too hot, it'll turn it right off. But once it reaches temperature where the fan would come on with the free air heater, the original heater, it turns on this little fan here to actually keep the firebox cooler and to make it run a little longer. This one, if the firebox, if the unit goes right out because it's overheating already, this fan will keep running and cool the system down. So that's how I incorporated a safety feature into the waste oil Resnor unit. I'll open the box and I'll show you how it burns inside. Give me a minute here. Okay, you can see it's nice and white. It's burning good and lean. Around here, it'll turn white a little bit. I just cleaned this out. I've got to maintain this area here because it's susceptible to plug up and not get enough airflow. So every time I come in here and up my oil level in the tanks, you usually give this a brush off and make sure that the fan blows everything out of there. And you can see there's some black soot from around this area in there. I just cleaned this here last night actually. So that's what it looks like inside, and this here is a firebox within a firebox of the whole boiler tank. The original boiler tank, when I originally built this, I put the waste oil unit burner directly in there, but I had a problem. It wouldn't burn all the oil. I was coming back here after a day of burning, and I'd have a raw oil at the bottom of my firebox. So that had to quit. So I come up with this internal or firebox. We need a lot of heat for this waste oil to burn. And with the original firebox, with the water around the jackets, I couldn't get the heat for it to burn clean. I want to mention the thing about this here. Waste oil in this unit, we have two systems. We have the pump system for the oil to come into the burner, and we have an air system. I've got a air compressor that I hooked up. The original air compressor for this unit packed it in, and he wanted like $800 for it. I bought this little solenoid valve, and it comes on or allows the air to flow once the thermometer looks for heat and turns on the system. This opens up and automatically puts air into the system, which requires about 10 pounds of air for it to burn properly. I'll show you the original compressor and explain why. The original compressor is this compressor here, and the motor, this isn't the original motor. I tried to hook it up. This didn't work properly, so I had to come up with something else. But the original motor and this pump assembly, they wanted $800 for that. I opened up the box. It didn't even come with a new filter, so I ended up taking it back because I was pissed. And I went and bought myself a little air compressor in this solenoid unit. And for $120, this thing has been running for like 2.5, 3 years now. It's still good. I expect I get 3 or 4 years out of one of these units before I either have to rebuild it or replace it. But for $130, a lot cheaper than $800. Now, the oil pump comes in from this side here. Okay. One thing I can tell you, when it's running, this is my suction valve, and I'm going to fire it up and show you once. I've got a manual override here. We'll fire it up. You can see the smoke come out. That's just fired. And when I come back over here, I got suction of under 5 pounds. That means this filter here seems to be pretty good, right? And I've on the other side here, I don't know if you can see that, but I've got a pressure here of about 13 pounds. And that's not too bad, but it's starting to get up there. And what that tells me is when I come through the system all the way along through this area here, and it comes up into here, preheats in my water a little bit, goes to the preheater, and it comes back out of the preheater in through this system here, and there's a screen in here. Well, this screen, when that gauge is starting to read up 15, 20, 30 pounds, 25 pounds, I got to come in and clean the screen. Usually at that time, since I'm messing with the system in here, I will clean the nozzle at the same time. And that's about 15, 20 minutes, half an hour at the very, very most. Depends on. So that's basically the workings of the inside system here. I'll make another video of how I gather my oil and filter all my oil. That's one thing that's kind of critical here, is we do not want to put dirty oil in here, because if we do, we'll be coming here to clean these filters constantly, and that's kind of a pain. So we're up to temperature. We'll turn that off.